Hello and welcome back to the studio/lab. For the past few years since COVID, the IR3109 OTA chip has adorned my filter modules, JP6 VCF, 101 VCF, and JU60 VCF. These chips have gotten harder and harder to acquire, and with quantities quickly diminishing, other options had to be explored. Today I'm going to show you the extreme measures I go through to procure these coveted chips and use them in my designs. By the end of the video, I think you will see a lot more work goes into this than you would think. The story begins with the Roland Juno 106, of which you may be well familiar. This is the 817A wafer. It houses the circuits for the filter and VCA circuit of the 106. Each wafer serves one voice, of which the 106 has 6 of them. Roland felt it necessary at the time to encapsulate their wafer in black resin. It could be for electrical or temperature stability, or maybe to protect the corporation's coveted secrets. Who knows, maybe both. But it would become the Achilles heel of the 106. Over time, the resin breaks down and causes problems within the synth voices. Stuck notes, unresponsive notes. You know the drill. So the 106 requires their original wafer chips either to be refurbished, theoretically by removing the black resin, or replaced with modern remakes. Eventually somebody very smart, not me, figured out how to remove the black resin encapsulation. This is the 817A wafer with the resin removed. Behold, a surface mount version of the IR3109. There's even 2 BA662 chips in there. Alas, these 662s are only good for VCA duties, and do not have the performance characteristics to make good filters. If only I could reclaim the 3109 chip from the wafer, I could reuse it. Things are not as simple as they would seem though, but first I'll share my method for removing the black resin from the wafer. It's a well-known process for the initiated. Plop the wafers into a jar of acetone and wait for several days possibly, and peel back the black resin off of the wafer. But I'm on a schedule here and I need to get things done a little quicker and in larger quantities. I usually acquire hundreds of used wafers from other synth technicians and will process batches of 50 or 100 wafers at a time. So here's the additional step that I came up with. It's going to take an N95 breathing mask, eye protection, and a shop apron. Using a Dremel tool, I like to grind away the resin from the edge, exposing the edge of the white ceramic wafer inside. This increases the ability of the acetone to infiltrate the areas where the chips reside on the wafer. Just know that it's going to be a huge mess. The black resin dust will go absolutely everywhere. The workspace will have to be dusted off. When all of the chips are done, I use an air tool to blow away the loose dust. And into the acetone bath they go. "24 hours later, I'll start checking them. About 30% of them will have the resin come off completely. You may encounter the occasional wafer having silicone underneath the black resin. It's no fun, I tell you. This pile of wafers is done. Well, this pile needs to go back into the acetone bath. I'll check them again later in a few hours, but it will take yet one more day or so until the chips are all done. Now I'm ready to extract the chips from the wafer. Again, I'm going to speed up the process whenever possible. I like to preheat the wafers in a portable oven. Set it for about 250 or 300 degrees. They'll only be in there for a couple of minutes. Once out of the oven, I'll use a heat gun until the chip pops loose. It should take 20 or 30 seconds for this to happen. Without this step, it would take upwards of 1 minute to break the chips free. Here you will see 2 piles, one for the 662 chips and the other for the 3109 chips. Alas, young grasshopper, the work is far from over. Looking closer at the chips, there is still siliconized black resin caked to the bottom of these chips, and all over the chip pins. If I'm going to have any hope of resoldering these chips to something, I am going to have to remove as close to 100% of all the black silicone as possible. So you guessed it, I will be putting them through another acetone bath. The next day I will check them. The black silicone doesn't come off right away usually. I'll need to use a toothbrush to rub off the silicone. Any silicone that is in between the pins will need to be removed using the X-Acto knife. Putting them on white paper usually helps show where things need more attention. And so it is mostly done. The IR3109 reclaimed from the 817 wafer. I've had about 99% success rate using this method. At this point, it's ready to hand solder the IC onto another board like my JU60 VCF, which is risky. What if the chip isn't working right? Now it is time to test the 3109 for use in my 101 VCF or JP6 VCF. First I'll need to mount the chip to a 16-pin dip adapter. Dip as in DIP, meaning dual inline package. You'll notice the chip pins don't fit the adapter, so using a hard surface I'll press the chip on its edge to bend the chip legs downward. Now it fits. Soldering these beauties is a delicate matter. Each solder point must be closely inspected under magnification. Then I'll solder the through-hole pins to the adapter. I'll be testing the chip using one of my old 101 VCOs fitted with a socket. I'll check the signal using a scope, as well as sweeping the frequency and cutoff. Only a fully working chip will have the characteristic audio response. All chips that pass the tests are soldered to one of my filters, and then those modules are tested and calibrated. When I hear that beautiful filter sweep, it's reward enough. For all the hard work and dedication is worth it to me, and why I call my endeavors a labor of love. It's all for you, my friend. Thank you for watching. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe.